Oh, what's the lyrics?
A lot of people, they want to go out and make it, but they don't have that fire.
Sorry, any spider lovers out there.
Sometimes the plans that we have are so good, but you said it so perfectly. God's plan is great.
Think about that mouthful of words you had to eat when you were spouting off at that age.
We can connect on a deeper level, even though we're doing it through a screen. I love it so much.
The uniqueness of our experience is so different. The uniqueness of this thing right here, that little thumbprint, everybody's is different, dude. We don't all fit in the same cereal box, and that is okay.
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't. Hey Fred, can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
There you are. How's it going?
What? Oh, there we go. Dude, it's so crazy. I have used Zoom everywhere but this brand new laptop.
So we got to
So
break it in, right?
that's right. Is everything good? Can you hear good? Do I need to put in headphones or anything?
No, you sound good, very clear. It's all
Okay.
good.
Okay, dude. I was worried.
Dude, my paranoia about Zoom calls is fucking insane, considering this is the primary way of me connecting with everyone. And the paranoia I go through every single time that my internet doesn't go out, that everything works, it's fucking crazy. I don't know how I'm sober.
Oh, I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you. This one specifically too, because I know we've had to reschedule once or twice. I think twice. I was like, gosh, if I cannot get this to work today, he's gonna kill me.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not, dude. I've been looking forward to chatting with you for a long time, even though it has been a little bit of a lengthy time before I've had you on, but it's been worth the wait in my opinion because I've been dying to, even though in my head I'm always like, he's edging me, dude. He's edging me.
That's what it feels like. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, we're so close. I think, yeah, the last time too, we were like so close and just had to whip it around. But the good thing is, man, so much more. Man, there's been so much going on. So even more stuff to talk about. So I love it.
Dude, exactly. And I can't wait to jump into everything that's getting ready to come out in this year. I'm super excited for everything that you've got to share, but I'm more excited to finally get to talk to you because, first of all, your message to me made my entire day. And I immediately clicked on your page and I knew I had to have you on because I thought, I bet you everyone talks about his fucking hair, but is anyone going to talk about his thighs? So.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
So my new nickname to you is Thunder Thighs, whether you like it or not, okay?
It's gonna stick, hopefully.
We'll see. Were you an
Yeah.
athlete before becoming a musician?
Yeah. I've always been an athlete. Like I played football and basketball growing up. I played baseball as a young kid, but I was an outfielder and no one ever hit it out there. So I got bored really fast. And I play a lot of golf now. I've always had this like competitive thing, like, like just playing contact sports and, aggressive sports. It's like it kind of drives that competition. And throughout life, as you get older, playing those sports and music don't really work out because I'm kind of like an extremist too. I like to do snowboarding or like kind of extreme sports, motocross riding, stuff like that. But like I had to peel out of that when I found music, especially when it became my livelihood. Because these bad boys, like if one thing happens, like playing basketball, you jam your finger. Well, you're not playing the show that night. So I still play a lot of golf, and that's about the most athletic thing I do outside of like gym and chasing my two kids.
Would you say that playing golf is kind of your way of filling up your cup when you take a break from music?
Yes, honestly. Before I started playing music as my job, it's like maybe once, twice a week. And then when that transferred over, it became, like 5 to 7 nights a week, sometimes two shows a day, like through the hustle of actually getting well known enough to do some tours or getting some bigger festival gigs. And so that was like, man, you watch your dream really quickly become like in a way, a burden. I mean, blessed to do it, that much and have the opportunities, but you're just like, man, sometimes it's not always as rewarding as you thought it was. And so, and needing an escape from that. And I played like golf in high school growing up and quit after high school, found a friend probably 2 or 3 years into playing music that he played a lot of golf. So we just started tag teaming up and like playing all the time. Weirdly enough, it has always been a great escape from music. It's like it's something I can put passion into that it's not like I'm working for it. But in the last couple years, I started playing on these amateur golf tours and getting a few sponsorships, and the competitive edge came back. And then I grew a quick love hate for the game, and it's something I like in my mind. I was like, I have to work on this because I get out there and have a bad time. because I'm so competitive. And so it allowed me to have like a lot of introspective thoughts and looking within to conquer that and understand that golf is fun and it's my release to my job. But that kind of just pilled back over into my job, music, the career that's your passion that turns into your job, and help me kind of wage that war with that too.
It's interesting hearing you talk about that because I've often talked about how passions becoming obligations can definitely send you down such a dark, negative path. But I feel like, in a way, it really does put you in a position where you have to think quick on your toes and reevaluate where that passion is coming from. And so I think it says a lot about your competitive nature that you've been able to kind of find yourself back in that realm of getting too competitive because I think that that's fire you need to release and that you have within you. And you know what's crazy about that, Fred, is that a lot of people they want to go out and make it, but they don't have that fire. So I'm glad you have it for sure.
And you have to, man. Basically, you really need the fire because in life you face a lot of adversity. And no matter what your career is, or like whether you're a professional golfer, musician, banker, whatever, teacher, I mean, you face adversity. And like, I always tell people this, like, have you ever gotten advice from someone is like, trust me, like, hear me out, watch out for this. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. And then it happens. And instead of heeding the warning, you have to walk through the fire to learn the lesson. It's just like adversity teaches so much more than you just being handed a golden ticket with the answer on it. And also coming to the reality that even when someone gives you the answer prior to or even during, it doesn't make you susceptible to that not happening to you again. Or, if you have the answer, it doesn't mean it's not going to affect you in a heavy manner, if you will. But I would say like having the fire allows you to burn kind of right through that. And keeping the passion, the fire alive is I heard this analogy the other day, like how are you supposed to keep a fire going if you're not constantly tending it? And I'm like,
100%.
oh my gosh, like, and it was in the spiritual manner. I heard this like in church, this guy talking about God, and I was like, well, that relates there for sure. But it's like, wow, like, you think about that, the moment you step away from whatever you're doing or try to like, it's gotten so annoying that you had to take a break, you will watch the flame kind of fan down. And in most cases, successful artists, I would say, just step back into the fire, right beside the fire to feed it at the right time constantly. Because like any profession, you do need time away. I don't know what countries it is, but like they do 4-day work weeks instead of 5-day. And here in
Yes.
America, we're over here working 6 or 7 days sometimes. And I've been a part of that, even in a dream role as a musician, a rock star, just having to play all the time, sucking a little bit of that. Like I did this as an escape at one point in time. And now I need a new escape. So golf has served that. And through learning having that competitive nature and learning the negativity of that, because it's kind of the same way in music. I wouldn't say I've never looked at it as always competitive, but it's competitive against the industry. You want to be successful, and in your growth to being like realizing you can be successful, sometimes you get really hungry for success, and that's like all of a sudden the passion, the art gets swirled into this chase, and it's like you're only occasionally able to grab it out of the circus ring once every 6 months instead before like it was all about creating and it was the passion and it was the art. And so that's a battle I've struggled with through my music career, is kind of thinking I'll never chase it for the wrong reasons and then be chasing it for the wrong reasons. And when you wake up and pull back out of it, you're like, oh man, music is so good and I enjoy, there's the passion again because I was lost. Now I'm found. I'm sure it'll happen again, but we'll always be found, right?
Totally. And it comes in waves. And I love the message about the trials because I think that it gives us the opportunity to make a decision whether we want to be resilient or not. And I think that that truly is what sets us apart from everyone else who just stops what they're doing because you find the love for the resilience that those negative paths taught you. So I love that message, especially coming from you because you're an artist that's doing this full time. And a lot of people want to be in those shoes. They want to be able to pursue their music full time. And so I think it's a
Right.
powerful message for sure. I definitely want to talk a little bit about your childhood real quick. You're the oldest sibling, correct?
Yes, I'm the oldest of five.
Oldest of five. That's so funny. I'm the middle child of five.
Wow. Wow, I'll meet the younger or the older of five. I haven't met, like, I've been able to have a conversation with the middle child. Because I know, like, my brother, the middle child, like, I know what he's like, what he describes, being the middle child, like this and that. So it's always cool to hear those conversations, especially in big families. I'd say big families are, I wouldn't say they're less popular nowadays, but maybe overall they're less popular.
It's like not very common anymore. But I wanted to ask you about the descriptions of those roles that you were just talking about. Do you feel like you fit yours to the T as far as like being the stereotypical older sibling that's almost like this parental figure, full of responsibility, has the pressure of the world on his shoulders when it comes to caring for the younger ones? Do you fit that role, you think?
I would say so. And in many ways have been, I would say I've taken things as insults. Like I remember I heard like through the grapevine, a really good friend of mine tell someone else, like, yeah, Fred's got that big brother syndrome. And I was like, like it broke my heart. I was like, damn, man, like, ouch, because I don't think it was meant in a super negative way, but also clearly wasn't like exactly this compliment. And I was conflicted with that for a long time because growing up, I was a tough big brother. Like I don't know. I learned this here recently. Is I always trying to tell my younger siblings how to live rather than offering advice on what I'd been through. And in my mind, I was justifying it as like, trust me, I know because I'm the oldest. I've experienced it. I've been through this, and up even into like my early to late 20s, like trying to help steer my younger brothers and forgetting that they're younger. Like even if I've been through something, it's not my responsibility to tell them how to live, more so to offer advice when they're ready to ask. And that has been something like I've came across just probably in the last 5 years and really tried to change that because I, in a way, regretful, like I meant good by it. I was like trying to save my younger brothers or somebody from like falling into something that possibly like I did that had caused me trouble or whatever. And like 90% of your lessons learned, we're learning them the hard way because it's like the only way you'll learn it. And so in a way, seeing that maturity difference, I talked about it with my mom the other day. I said, my youngest brother we're 8 years apart. And, sometimes us on the upper end, because it's like me, my sister 2 years younger, my next brother is 3 years younger than me, next brother 4 years younger, and then he's all the way 8 years. And me and my brother sometimes will kind of get going. And I've learned to see what I would say is just a more mature vision because I've like kind of aged out of the pridefulness of it. And he'll say something and I'll kind of be like, well, dude, think about when you were 28, or when you were 27, like think about that mouthful of words you had to eat when you were spouting off at that age, and I'm like, I've been there, dude. I've got like, empty to go boxes of words I've had to freaking reshovel in my mouth to be like, oh, you fool. Why did you say something so silly? But anyways, yes, I feel like I really was in that role. And, I've always said like you don't like just decide to be that role. Like you're kind of birthed into it, right? Like you have no choice. If you're born in the middle, you're the middle child, like how do you change that? Maybe convince your kids to have a couple more kids or something. Then you can be the, whatever. But it's like being the firstborn or being the lastborn. It's just like your rite of passage to kind of take on that role, at least in this lap, in your human experience. If there's reincarnation, maybe next time you'll get to be the oldest or the youngest. But yeah, I definitely would say I assume that role, but I've learned to be proud of it and manage it better and actually be more of the big brother I wish I had. Cause that was definitely something I always tell my brothers, like, I wish I had somebody telling me. And I've always wished that in the music scene. Like I've kind of always been the big brother here in Charlotte. I hosted a music festival and just like kind of have tried to pull community together in many aspects and want to continue that as a very core value. And like I said, even in that, learned how to do it, what maybe not the wrong way, but learned another approach how to do it to make it work better and truly feed community or feed family is what I call it. So
Well, I love hearing you say this because for me, one of the most amazing realizations I had recently was coming to the realization that in a lot of ways, we always give everyone what we know or what we we wish that we would have had in whatever part of our lives. And I thought about my oldest sister in particular because I thought about how the older siblings, they're perceived to be these like parental figures. But isn't it so funny how, in a way, they try to give us the structure they didn't have because they were the first ones? They were the ones in trial. The parents didn't know how to navigate the first one. So therefore, you lacked a little bit of that structure so that when others come along, you try to give them what you didn't have. And I think it's so fascinating that that is something I find in common with a lot of older siblings, but I think it's a beautiful thing. So hopefully you don't regret it too much because I think that that is part of the circle of life, right?
Yeah, I feel it's like it was my role in this life, and I don't know if I necessarily believe I'll have another chance to live life, but if I did, I would imagine it's not gonna be identical, right? And, yeah, man, like I said, I mean, there's always been a lot of push-pull on it, but I've learned to just try to be better at it, and, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like a roll of the dice, I was the firstborn, I know have always been stricter on my firstborn, so and then on my secondborn, it's kinda like, "Oh, don't have to be that strict because, it's not that serious, they will survive, trust," it's kinda that thing, and so it just yeah, I guess is how it all pans out,
It's just
like,
part of it, totally. It's
as a
nothing.
parent figuring it out, I'm like, "Man,
Yes.
thank God for my parents and how they did it, dude. We're all here, we're all still alive and healthy, and that's great. And, have a great sibling group. So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you brought up your parents and being so grateful for how they brought you guys up because I couldn't segue any better to my next question because one of my favorite stories was about how your mom was giving you guys all ornaments every year. And I wanted to ask you, is this something that you do with your kids now?
Yeah, it's something we kind of had started, because my daughter is 1.5 and my son, well, she's actually about to be 2. And my son is 3.5. And it's something, we did as a family. So I definitely do that. Later in life, my dad got on this thing where did not want to celebrate Christmas. He was like, it's a fake holiday, like it's not the real birth of Jesus. And it's like, we don't celebrate that around here, but he was still clearly a part of the celebration every year. But, anyways, I kind of took on a little bit of that. And then as, my wife, Casey, we were just like, yeah, you can't really not do Christmas for kids, right? It is so fun and like so cool. So that was a tradition, I tried to carry on. And my mom even brought over some of our ornaments from the kids, and let me have those. And I remember that being a huge thing every year. You'd like get to pick either once you got to a certain age, you got to pick out your own ornament you wanted for that year, or prior to that, your mom had picked you out something. So
So
yeah, kind of
fun.
super cool.
Well, I love to hear that you've passed that on. And I love that that's such a core memory because I loved reading the story. I thought it was the sweetest thing. And something I like to do on the show is just honor parts of your life in a very unique way so that it's not always your same old interview questions, if that makes sense. And so that prompted
Yeah.
me to ask you about this. If Late Night Special did ornaments as merch this Christmas, what would the design be?
Well, honestly, I need to be honest because the first thought that just popped in my head instantly was like something disco ball themed.
Hell yeah.
It just seems like it would go really cool. And me, the way I work is I love the originality of an idea like the disco ball, but I always will give it one shot at making my own take on it. So, who knows what we could come up with? Maybe like a 3D printed letters of the LNS, but disco covered. So
Dude, we'll put that on the drawing board. You're welcome for December.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love it. In Hold On, the opening lyrics go, My mama said many years ago, this life is hard, but you will grow. Hold On is one of my favorites, by the way. Even before you start singing, those first like few seconds of that music, for some reason, dude, it makes me want to cry. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something about the melody before you start that it just puts me in my feels. But I wanted to ask you about that line real quick. When did that line hit you? You mentioned something earlier today about someone telling you, like, for example, don't touch the fire, don't touch the fire. And then you eventually do it. And then you learned why they were warning you, right? When did that line hit you with your mom telling you this about life, if that makes any sense?
So it's so funny, man. That song was so it had like such a long life, I guess, before it was created for, people to listen to. And we played it out. I played it out with so many different iterations of the band over the years. And I remember when it started out, like it was really like it turned like it would go into this like very indie rock phase. Like it would just peel into like a heavier rock sound and it was completely different. And by the time I'd circled around to create the song, I worked with this producer in Charleston Boston. His name was Wolfgang Zimmerman. And the lyrics I had been singing for years and years. And something I was really trying to work on was making the songs actually make sense to the lyrics, you know, a little better. Because while I'd get in the habit of singing melody lines that I'd write a lot in the flow when I'm out playing live on my solo shows. And I just love to put myself in that pressure. And usually a great melody and sometimes great like ideas come out of it. And sometimes I just get stuck in repeating lyrics because they fit the flow. And I'm like, when we record it, I'll rewrite them to match the song. That's kind of been an approach of mine. And so in that case, I'd had a couple songs that were starting with this line, like walking somewhere. And he's like, Fred, you're always walking somewhere. Like, you need to change that lyric. Like, come on, dude. And so we went through and he's like, write this song. Like, you know, and he's like, you got your mom reference in this song somewhere with somewhere else. And he's like, let's go off that. And I just remember like going through, you know, by that time the song was created like 20 when I was 24, 25. So like 2013, 14, 15. And the song didn't get recorded until like 2019 or 20. And by that time, I had been through some weird relations, like two long relationships, being broke. You know, I was running like a food truck and a food cart, like a hot dog stand at one point in time, like as a business for a while. And it had went through waves of great seasons and not, you know, it was unpredictable. And so I had just experienced life. And I remember, you know, my mom was always, she would say, you know, things like, you know, life's just not always rainbows and kittens, you know, or something like that. And, you know, it gets hard sometimes, Fred Lee, and you just got to find a way through it. And I don't know, I'm super blessed to never have like anything too tragic happen to me or anything. But, you know, everybody's path has resistance, right? Everybody faces adversity, and we're not unique in that. I said this to my friends the other day. Like, we're not unique in the fact that we all suffer in this life, but our suffering is unique to us, and only we can be us. You know, only you can be you, if that's how you could say it. No one else can be you. No one else can experience what you experience, but that doesn't mean they've experienced the trials and tribulations too. And so, anyways, my mom, I know that lyric in that song, I just thought about all the time. She had told me, like, yeah, you know, sometimes, Fredley, things are rough, you know, and you're just gonna have to, you know, she's always been very spiritual and was like, you know, just pray about it, talk to God about it and see what happens. And I've always been like, on that. You know, I was in it growing up and pulled away and resisted and then came back super strong. And so just like that kind of came out. And it was crazy because like it didn't take long to rewrite the song. We pretty much rewrote the verses to the song within an hour. And he was like, I just wanted to pull out like what's real to your story. And I started really learning after that experience with him is to try to be more vulnerable when it comes to writing. Because a lot of times, you know, like you're ashamed of your downfalls or you're maybe don't want to share in a situation that might feel embarrassing or vulnerable. But I just learned to lean into that now. And I've wrote so much since then. I haven't exactly released a lot of music since that session, but I'm really kind of coming into that flow state to start putting out music more consistently now.
Well, I loved it because I love going back to the wisdom that people share with you in this crazy life when we're learning to navigate it. And I feel like you've lived so many different lives, and I love your journey, which we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I just had to bring that up because, again, just that beginning part of that song alone, it just puts me in my feels. And there's something very like reminiscent, if that's even the right word, about that song. It takes you back to a place of nostalgia. And to me, it really did make me think of all the times people have shared wisdom with me. And like you said, whether you're resistant to it or not, you'll get there eventually. But I really do love this song, and it's one of my favorites on there for sure.
My mama said many years ago, this life is hard, but you will grow. I never understood exactly what she meant till I was white knuckling down the freeway on my way home. Just hold on.
I also wanted to talk about this real quick because we mentioned siblings, we mentioned your mom, and in honor of your dad being in a band before you were born, if Fredenstein was around in 2026 and they collaborated with Late Night Special, what do you think that sound would be?
It is so tough, man. I want to release my dad's music. Sorry, I just killed a spider on the wall before he crawled into our bedroom. So
You're good.
sorry, any spider lovers out there. But man, number one, that would be a dream because my father passed away 3 years ago, and it's so crazy. I just had a dream about my dad last night, and it was like in my
Wow.
childhood home. I was going somewhere from my house, and he was just sitting there, and I just remember hugging him and saying, like, "I'm so thankful for everything you did for us, and I want you to know, like, I miss you," or something. And then I was like, I said, "I miss your hugs," and he just laughed at me, which was like classic him. Like, he just was a funny guy. And so, anyways, if we got to collab together with Fredenstein, like, it would be epic. Like, I've thought of two or three different things. Like, I either want to cover the album with a band or release the music underneath his project and be able to, set the royalties up if it happened to go nutty. To go back to my mom, because my dad, like, set us up very well financially when he left, but just in a different way other than, like, just a pile of money. Like, he left my mom assets and took care of her really well, and all of us will one day inherit something. But one of the biggest things, like, my two guitars that I started with were his, and he never played music when I was a kid. Like, I guess he kind of just took on the breadwinner role. He was a hairdresser, second generation hairdresser. I became third generation. My brother now runs the salon. So he just assumed that work role and was, like, pretty busy probably until I was 5 years old. And about the time I was five and started going to school, he would take every Monday and Thursday off. Those were his days to take care of us and hang out with us. But we never played music together. And as, like, I grew older, and I didn't start playing until I was 21. And as I started to grow into music, he would always be like, "Yeah, your song needs something like this." And he would go to, like, show me on the guitar, but he didn't have it anymore. And right before he passed, like the last 2 or 3 years, he was always saying, like, "I think I figured it out. I hear how much money you're making playing these solo shows every night." He's like, "I think I'd rather get me a guitar and play country songs, through like for 3 hours and get paid what you get paid." And I was like, "Okay, do it, dude. Like, I'll get you hooked up. And so I got him a guitar, and yeah, if we ever collabed on music, it'd be crazy because Fredenstein was like indie rock in the late mid late 80s. And anybody I've ever listened to it, they're like, "This is super cool." I was like, "Man, yeah, it really needs to be released at least to the world where people could hear it off the CD, because it's just in CD form." And he had, prior to that, it was in tape, like a little cassette tape. And yeah,
Dude, the
would have
name
been
alone is so sick. It really does give you like an 80s, 90s, like grunge type of like movie. Like it's so good. I
yeah.
can't, for some reason, I'm blanking out right now because I'm just so in awe with the story. But there was like an older movie back in the day that was of like the Kiss soundtrack. And for me, that totally gives me that vibe. Oh, it's Detroit Rock City. There you go. And
Oh, yes,
it's such a
yes,
good movie, but this
yes.
band name has that energy to it, you know?
Yeah, because their album was called The Young Monster,
So
was the
sick.
album title. And they honestly, I have some photos. I'll have to find some photos and share. They looked like the Talking Heads in a way. Like, they had this, like, that classic look, but with the baggy style. And my dad had long, curly, like, almost not really jet black hair, but dark brown hair. Growing up, this is a side off the topic, but growing up, my dad did like two or three, they were called cantatas at the time, but like Easter plays in the church where he was Jesus. And my mom had to talk us off the ledge, like, "Your dad's really not getting nailed to the cross up there, this is fake." But anyways, man, he always had a cool look, dude. And like I said, he's a cool guy, and he's a good looking guy, and a cool guy, hairdresser, ex-musician, and just a superb dad, man. Like I said, he took those Mondays and Thursdays off every week. And if you could miss 25 days of school a year, he would let you miss 24. These are things I noticed once he died. Like, I tracked back through my life and remembered all these things. Like, when he would take us out of school, we would go, like, see some old clients of his that were in nursing homes, or go take my cousin who had Down syndrome. We would take him out for the day and, like, just have a blast with him. And, like, that was like his best friend, not his best friend, but like they were so close in age. They were close growing up, and their properties were beside each other. So throughout life, he always kind of was like a big brother to him. And so just seeing all the things my dad did that not necessarily I took for granted, but I wasn't seeing in the moment as a child. But thank God I remember it. And it just being a father, it changed the way, I looked at my dad. I mean, I always loved and admired my dad, but it just was like so much more admiration. And Like that dream last night, it was like so real. I like had woke up at 5:30 with my kids and then went back to sleep for an hour. Those are like the craziest dreams. And I just remember it was like the realest feeling hugging him. And in those moments when I was saying I was thankful for him, I had this emotion come over me in the dream of like that he was really proud of me and proud of where I was growing. And it like, dude, almost brings me to tears now because it's just like, man, just such a huge piece of my life. And my son is Fred Lee Heinz the fifth, and I'm the fourth. And like I didn't know what my son was gonna be. We waited to find out. My dad passed away like a month or so before he was born. And so like when he came out, I saw his little nuts and wiener. I was like, yes, dude, Fred the fifth. I'm like, it just was like, it was just such a great moment. So and in that moment thinking like, man, my dad went through this with me, watching me be born. Like, like that was a big shift in music for me, man, because like at that moment before kids, just trying to figure out how to get to the next level and like being so concerned with more success and becoming a father really just put me back in check of like, dude, you know how important you were to your father and how much he was there for you through your life. You better be there. You better be there for these kids. And like, so that becomes number one, over music. And music's been my baby for 13 years, and it's still so important to me. But even through having kids and like growing closer to God, like I said, just realigning with like God, family, and then career, and even before that, probably friends, like I just want to be morally better all the time. And I feel like being a parent and having a good parent to be a role model was a great thing to help me kind of just build and stack off that.
It's almost like, during those years, not that you weren't appreciating those things with him, but it's almost like back then he was instilling in you the importance of staying in touch with humanity and how really love is really the groundwork that conquers all, right? And here he is last night in your dream reminding you of that human experience that's built around love and built around compassion, accepting. I mean, hugs are so intimate, they're so personal. And it's almost like, wow, like that message that he was giving you back then when you were a kid is still a message he's giving you now. And I think that's so amazing. I think it's so sweet.
This is funny because on that subject, dude, my dad was the first person to ever have a cell phone. He had made this instructional basketball video that got carried in this big basketball magazine called Slam Magazine and gave tapes to all kinds of different great players and stuff. And anyways, through that process, he's the first person to ever have a cell phone, but he used it for that business. And it was like an old Nokia. And then when the modern age touch phones came about, he was never to do anything with them, because I mean, truly, if I could say anything's taking away from my life, the human experience, it is totally my phone. But at the same time, connecting us even more in certain ways. But yeah, so just like stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, he was locked in, man. I mean, and again, as a kid, I didn't have the maturity to understand how locked in he was. And so as an adult, to get to look back on those memories, it keeps me kind of in that moral center of like who I wanted to be as a kid growing up and then who I became through being involved in the wrong situations or chasing the wrong ideologies and then coming back to remembering like, oh, like, wow, now it really makes sense,
It literally makes me so happy to hear you say this. And something I genuinely take a lot of pride in with doing these episodes is I always make jokes about how I feel like I make such human connections through this device. And that's what really fills my cup. And I feel like this was not an intentional conversation. It just kind of went there. And I feel like that really speaks to my message of what I want to get across is that I am able to connect with people beyond their artistry and even do it through this device because I feel like human connection is something that we are kind of losing with technology. And so I think it's just so interesting that all of this for me, I'm seeing it kind of have a full circle on the show with you talking about those experiences with your dad, the dream last night, and then here we are talking about this. And I just feel like, man, that's my message right there. I always remind guests that it's fascinating how we can connect on a deeper level, even though we're doing it through a screen. I love it so much.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, I almost value the fact that we had to cancel twice because it put more weight on this, not that there wasn't before, right? Just more now. And, I'm intentional. Like I'm signing up to be here with you for an hour, hour and a half, however long the podcast is. And like, it's like, how often, I know as a parent, man, like if I'm around my friends, they're with their kids, like, dude, you could get on a 2-hour topic and talk the first 2 lines and then you're interrupted with the kids. And then you're like, oh, and then you start a whole new subject. And it's like something in a couple couple of my friends have started doing is going on this like overnight backpacking trip in a place down the street. It's about an hour from our house called Uwari, and it's like a huge national forest. And we all got backpacking gear and we just go out for the night and come back. And it's became something that we want to keep regular because it's a moment to like anytime we see those people, it's usually for an hour max, 2 hours, and it's kind of distracted. Now, like just that once a year or once every 6 months to go out for almost a full 24 hours. We're doing 20 miles in 2 days. So it's like 10 in, 10 out. It's not easy, but it won't kill you. It's, you're facing the adversity of it. It's nothing but conversation, and you're catching up with people who like we grew up with. I grew up in a small town. Our senior football team had like 42 seniors, or 32 seniors or something. It was like a lot. So like we had grown up in each grade together, and a lot of us loved that and try to keep that connection. And it's amazing how even to try to massage connections, sometimes you can't get them back, but the ones that are there, it's like I haven't seen you in 10 years, but it's like you don't miss a beat. And coming back to my father, the Friday before he passed away on Monday, we had a baby shower. It was actually the Saturday. We had a baby shower, and one of Casey, my wife's clients, threw us this extravagant baby shower at her multi-million-dollar mansion in Charlotte. She wouldn't let Casey get out of it, and we're like, fine, go ahead. And all my friends came, and everybody was there, and my dad got to have these like 30-minute hour conversations with all of them because we were there for 4 or 5 hours. And he passed away the next week, and everybody was like, dude, your dad like touched us so much that night because he talked to us and he remembered the last thing we had talked about 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And he asked about that. And he, really, we got to have these super deep conversations. And it's just like, again, man, I mean, it's all still there no matter what the distraction of the device or life is. And it's just getting more intentional. I think the older you get, the faster time speeds up, the more you realize time is valuable and the more you are strategic with your time. Like I wanted to do this podcast because after I saw Deaf Andrews on it, I followed you and reached out, and I just started getting it in my feed. And like I just always see your big smile and I always hear like the great things you're talking about and like the conversations. And so like it's made me, like I said, the longer I've had to wait to come on with you, it's just made me more excited and really like believe in what you do. Like I followed you so that we could work together, but then like I was like so happy. You're something I'm happy to see in my feed because you're doing a great thing. And again, to bring that back full circle, this stuff has brought us together across worlds. Like we'd be talking on a landline if I happened to have gotten in touch with you 20 years ago, and so it would be a completely different experience. We can't see each other's face. Now we can record this and share it, which is awesome to see. I speak highly all the time on the Ripple, man. Like you will never know what your Ripple does because something you say today to one person could be, translated through generations, dude. Like you have no clue what your Ripple does. And that works both positive and negative, right? So it's always, again, putting the pressure on me always to be morally sound, morally just, and try to make sure that whatever my Ripple is continues on. I watched these crazy, kind of went down a rabbit hole, near-death experience videos that my friend had showed me. And a lot of this like synchronicity through the videos kept showing up of like when you had this experience, kind of met a spirit guide, and it showed you this linear timeline of your life and every encounter. And then it showed the linear timeline of their life and what had happened and what your interaction had done. And thus you have this moment, not where like God or the entity judges you, but you judge yourself. You see the full spectrum of your Ripple. And so I don't know, like the way life works and the way things have been working lately, like I just believe in, the divine, and it's like seeing how those things line up, it all makes too much sense to me. And so thus I'm speak highly of the Ripple, and like what it does in this world and what it's done to get to us, all the things we've learned and heard. So
Dude, totally. And honestly, same. Dude, I can genuinely say the same thing about you because I had always had a feeling since the second you wrote me, I was just like, I know this is someone I need to connect with. I've always said it. And, my partner's going to get a laugh at this whenever he tunes in because I've been telling him for a long time. I'm like, as many times as we've had to put it off, it's still meant to be. And I didn't know these stories about your dad. I didn't know about this connection that you have with, just your spiritual self. And I think that that's so crazy because this is literally what I almost preach about on a weekly basis on the show. It's about intuition, it's about going with it. And so I'm really glad we pulled the trigger on it because to me, I'm like, I live for these connections on the show, especially when they're so unplanned because I had no idea about your dad and these stories that you're sharing today. How was I supposed to know? There's just no way.
No, no.
So I think it's
And like,
so amazing.
why did I write some of those things down to kind of give you some stuff to play off of? None of them tie back to these conversations really, but they were good introduction lines to get into this. And
Exactly.
dude, recently, I mean, I have if we don't have time or anything, or I won't share the whole plan, but like I had this plan in my head to build this studio at my house, and like, dude, you could not have changed my mind. And so recently, within the last month, like it was a great plan. It was a good plan. It was a good plan. And in the last month, everything about it has changed. And I say that it was God's plan now because like, and God's plan is great. And my plans were good, like not they were bad, but God's plan is great. And through just that synchronicity and that intuition, I have stumbled into something that is greater. I don't know. I see so much more light and promise, and I feel so much more aligned in what's about to happen. And I just had no clue just a second ago, it feels like, you know? And something that like this last year I've tried to work on is I've always kind of been a control freak, like not in a harmful way, I would say, but who knows, dude? When I see that ripple one day, I'll know. But I've tried to work on that because I think it's part of the older brother syndrome, right? Like it's part of that bleeding into this, part of being the how did I be the band leader? Because I'm the older brother, I'm kind of a natural leader already. Like these things just all kind of you start to understand your role and you start to really settle into it. But one thing I've really tried to do is to work on that aspect of like being too much in control. And something, they speak of in religion or in church is to surrender. And like, I've never been one to give up, and I've never been one to not want control. And so the more I've tried to pour into surrendering, truly surrendering, because I truly in my heart have the greatest love and the greatest feeling I've ever experienced. And I've watched what that does. And so I've just been more committed to surrender. And all it has done has opened my eyes, my heart, the doors. It just keeps getting better, man. And it's something, like I said, did I get it? Did I figure it out? No. But I'm working on it because I see the reward and how much it and how great it feels. And I don't know. I spent years like kind of knocking religion in a way. Part of me feels guilty about that, but I think you have to go through so many things to experience the other side of it. If we ever get to talk again in the future, I think I'm gonna have a lot more to tell, and I'll get to tell this next version of the story, hopefully with the outcome. It's just, man, synchronicity, dude. Like God's working everywhere, and when you finally catch that feeling, it is so hard not to see it. Like, in fact, it's you will not see it anymore, man. And
No, for sure.
it's amazing, right? I mean, it's just crazy. And I've always believed in God, but I've always redacted my thoughts and tongue in conversations just to like not necessarily fit in, but just be like, hey, man, I'm not out here pushing, out here trying to, do this or that, but I have a beautiful voice, right? I sing, I have this voice and I need to use it. And something that happened years ago, I wrote this journal entry in 2015, I think. The main reason I wanted to be a musician was to have a bigger voice to help change the world for the better, right? And through the chase of success, I completely lost that vision. Well, one day I just randomly, Casey's like, here's this notebook. It's got some of your stuff in it. And I flip through and land on that page. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude.
Wow.
What the heck? And I was like, what the heck? And I'm like, you wanted to be this giant voice. Like I sat there in that moment, I said, you don't know what the fuck to say. You have no message. So why do you want to have this huge voice? Why do you want to be successful? You don't even know what you're going to say. And so I started to think about that more. And at the time, and still to the day, we are huge self-sustaining guarding people. Like we live here on a fourth of an acre, and I have a huge giant garden in my yard and an orchard. And like we just no pesticides, no fertilizers, all give back, all sustainability, all healthy, trying to embody our little footprint here to grow strong, dude, bring back to life. And we live 10 minutes from downtown, 15 minutes from downtown Charlotte. So just trying to create that. And I was like, well, that could be a good message, and I was like, well, how does that transcend into music? I don't know. But, the more I've grown closer to God, like the more I realize like that's the message. I don't want to be somebody, I'm not someone ever who's really judged people for any way or what they believe in. But I know that the love of God that I feel in my heart, of course I want to share it, dude. It is the best feeling in the world. I love music and I love my family. And this feels even better than that. Like it's just crazy. So much more willing to share now because I know what to say. And
Absolutely.
I have a really good friend who's always talked about saying a little prayer when people ask. It's just saying a prayer in his head to be like, hey, give me the guidance on what to say so that I don't turn people from you, but pull them closer. And that's something I've really
Absolutely.
started to think about more is like, how can I just be wise with my words, to love? I mean, that's what it is. It's love, dude. It's the greatest love of all.
Well, and I think you've said it so perfectly because something I'm a big believer on is once you start to give up that control is when you gain the most control. And I've said this on so many episodes, and I feel like you definitely said that in your own way. And I think there's beauty behind that. And I think that, when it comes to using your voice, I think you're doing it because of the way you're choosing to walk your life. And that's always going to be louder than your actual voice. And so I
Right.
can't wait to hear everything that you're going to be working on and how you're going to continue to pursue all of this. But I do want to circle back to something because I don't know why, but I felt compelled to kind of ask you this question in regards to your music and connecting it back to your dad. Is there a song of yours that wasn't intentionally about your dad that makes you think of him today?
There is one that is recorded, and I'm actually about to re-record it. It is a song called Back Home. And it was off my first album, Light of the Moon. It was originally done in like 4/4. And I just one night, actually, dude, I was at this festival in front of 5,000 people in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I kind of started this riff because, like, occasionally I'm brave enough to do it in front of that many people, write a new song. And that night I just had started this riff. I was like, this dude, the Back Home fits over this. And so I did it over that and I was like, I love this version. It's so much more exciting. It brought new life to it. But there's a line in it. It's like your mom was in the kitchen, your dad was, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to figure it out now. I also have this problem. Can I just go ahead and say if I am not singing the song in succession, like from front to finish, I cannot remember the lyrics. I can't do anything. It's so frustrating. We work on it in practice all the time. They'll be like, "Hey, let's rerun that part from the second verse," and I'm like, "Oh, what's the lyrics?" But like, I'm a one take beast, dude. I
Hell
can the
yeah.
first take, I'm like, "Boom, let's go." It's perfect. But mom was in the kitchen, dad was telling jokes. You didn't know what you were missing. You didn't know. You didn't know. And I
Wow.
remember that was like one of the first 5 songs I ever wrote. And those songs like just poured out. Like it wasn't like, let me write it like this. It was kind of like, let me flow with the rhyme and what comes out. And that one poured out. And over the years, like, I just was like, what, your first art, you kind of like, oh, we can do better. And you try to do better and right. And you do keep getting better in some sort of the sense. But when I went back and listened to that years down the road, I was like, man, what a good song, Fred. Like, what a great song, dude. And anyway, since my dad passed, I mean, that song hits me so hard because it's like, your mom was in the kitchen, your dad was telling jokes. Like, my dad was so funny. Like, it was just about the truth of him. And I didn't even know that my heart was just letting it come out. And that's why I love writing in the flows because it's true. It's coming from somewhere and it's usually deep within that vulnerability. You didn't know what you were missing. You didn't know. You didn't know. That's just as true as it gets, man. I didn't,
Yeah.
me and my dad had such a great relationship that I was taking it for granted.
No, for
And
sure.
that dream last night, that hug, like, I mean, I woke up this morning, me and my wife cried. I'm about to cry right now thinking about it because it was so real, so real. And yeah, I also sat down probably within 6 months after he passed on the piano one night and I wrote this song and it just poured out of me. And I could just feel like, I guess what I would say is God's presence right there with me, like holding me within me. And I was playing it and I'm just like, it's just pouring out. And it was just this song that was like, Father, won't you help me? Show me what I need to do. Father, won't you help me? I want to be more like you. And that was the song. And I haven't recorded or released it yet, but I've sat down so many times at the piano and played that, and it's like, I'm not a piano player really. I should say I am now because I know shapes and chords and sounds, so I could write a song on it, so I can play piano. But it just was like I was playing like almost it just was crazy, dude. My wife was like, "Where did you learn to do that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Just
And it's just
projecting out of you.
yes, yes, and so I can't wait to do that song because now that I've grown closer to God and, I've been going back to this amazing church in Charlotte called Vision Church, and I've just been so moved, dude. And, like, when I watch them play the 2 or 3 songs every morning, I just get, like, it's hard not to be emotional, and I'm just like, "Man, I want to perform that song with a group like this because I feel like, it was wrote for my dad and about my dad, but the more that I hear it, I'm like, it's to Father God, man. And I truly mean that now. It's like, Father, why don't you help me show me what I need to do, man? Father, why don't you help me? I want to be more like you. It's so crazy. A couple months ago, I was playing with one of my favorite drummers, James Brock, and yeah, this guy came in and I noticed I was like, oh, he's pretty eccentric looking. He's got to be an artist. And after he left, James is like, he's an incredible drummer. And so the guy called me a couple days later and was like, hey man, I was so inspired by you guys playing. Like, I just don't know what we need to do, but we need to do. Like, let's get together. So I went and met him that week, and it turns out like he's been the drummer on like the Elevation Church albums for like the last 10 years, man, and had like a major he had just had a major setback from music, and we've been able to connect. And I was just like, dude, like I said, like the synchronicity of life is just so crazy, man. And so we connected, and I was telling him, he's like, I don't know, he's showing me some of the music, and he's like, some of this is worship music. Like, it doesn't have to be that. And I'm like, dude, I'm not opposed. Like, it's not my genre right now. It's not late night special genre, but I'm not opposed, brother. Like, I am a writer. Like, I write, and I write in all different genres. And like, I've never been one to stay tamed. It's probably why the success of my band is as small as it is, I would say. Is I've never tried to conform to one lane because I'm just like receive it. I just have a big problem with like putting that all out. I've probably got 500 songs wrote, but I have like 40 out. So I'm really working on that. But again, the divine timing is so crazy because part of what I'm working on right now is opening my own studio in Charlotte, and with a great partner, somebody who is a great mentor. And I've found a way to help it serve a community of people that have believed in me and worked with me, and I've believed in them and worked with them. And I just feel like it's going to be something that grows strong. And it's an infrastructure here in Charlotte that we don't have. Like, we have nice studios and we have great artists. And past that, I don't know what else we freaking have, dude. And so I want to build something that is unique to here. People leave here because it's not here. And I want to be a part of building something why people would stay, because Charlotte is grown so kind of chaotically, but it has grown so much. There's so much here. It's a cool place to live, and it's been my home my whole life, right outside of Charlotte's where I grew up. So, but anyways, man, yeah, there's just so many good things going on. And I really, back to that original question, forgive me, I will talk and talk and talk. But back to that original question, yeah, that song Back Home really does nowadays hit so freaking hard, man. Like, every time I play it with a new passion, like a new belief in the power of that song. And my dad always was like, dude, the first record, Fred, is one of your best. He's like, you really need to, maybe you should re-record it. But like, he's like, it's some of y'all's best stuff. And like, I've really learned to believe in that because like it was so raw. It was so, not that anything else I've done I don't believe in or like I don't respect and enjoy the process or proud of. It's just that first record was truly, it was exactly my strong suit. It was writing from the flow, and no one was like, change the lyrics, do this. The original producer, Rob Shoemaker, who was the bass player, was literally just like, feed me what you want and I'm going to capture it. And I'm so thankful for him, down the road here, it's probably been 12, 13 years, we're all still friends, and it's just such a great experience that album was. So that song really does, like, I look at it in a whole new way now, that my dad's gone.
Well, that's the bed where I would lay. That's where I taught myself to play. Well, picking on it long till I had nothing to say about the things I didn't know, the people who didn't care, the thoughts of leaving home, or the dreams that weren't there. Back home, oh yeah.
Well, I can't wait to listen to it. And usually I would say hurry up, Fred, and get to it so we can all hear it. But I do believe that the timing happens this way for a reason. And I
Mhm.
couldn't get this out of my head since you said it. Sometimes the plans that we have are so good, but you said it so perfectly. God's plan is great. And so there's a reason why these haven't came out yet and why maybe you're pivoting to this studio. I think there's something greater there. There's something sitting there. And these will all come into fruition in their own timing. But when they do, Fred, I better be one of the first ones to listen to them because I am
Absolutely.
so excited to hear everything that's going to be coming out in the future, whenever that timing is. One last question I wanted to ask you, just because I do want to plug in more of your music on this episode real quick. If you were to have a late night special snack, whatever that is, right? What would be the late night special song to listen to it while you enjoy this snack?
Oh man, that is so tough. I know we did these videos not too long ago when we had a social media manager. She's like, "You guys all need to make a video of you making your late night special snack," and that was so funny. It was so hilarious. But man, if there was gonna be a song for a late night snack, man, it's so tough. That's such a tough one. I don't even know. Trying to think of a song that would really fit the snack vibe. Also gave up snacking recently. We started doing this keto diet at the beginning of the year and patched it with like intermittent fasting. And I've never been a restrictive diet person. I lost like 50 pounds in 3 months and like just got way back in shape and everything feels better because we're eating in a very short window. So the late night snacks I have cut down, except for my birthday weekend. We went crazy. But man, if it was gonna be a song, dude, for some reason, again, I just need to let this come out because it keeps popping in my head. But this song, "Let It Loose," we have this song called "Let It Loose" out. I don't know why. Maybe that's the snack song. I literally kept thinking in my head. It popped up 3 times and I didn't say it, but maybe "Let It Loose."
Amazing. Dude, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you, and I genuinely do mean this. I could do this for another 2 hours with you because there's something so special there. And I do think that there's a reason why you have so many of these ideas that are in your head that you're going to be putting out in regards to the studio, the music, because you have that much to give, Fred. And I think that that is such a special thing to showcase. And thank you so much for allowing me the time to showcase that because I want to motivate and inspire other people to tune into these episodes and know that it's not just about the artist, it's not just about the music, it's about the legacy, it's about their creativity, it's about their personal message. And honestly, dude, just on this recording alone, you hit all those things for me from the disco ball ornament that honors your mom and those memories, from talking about your dad and the music and re recording all this inspiration. We can't do that if you are not yourself, if you are not truly walking your path of truth. And you're doing that. And I really, really do thank you for that because you've made it easy for me.
I appreciate that, Mo. I feel the same way, man. You asking great questions, and dude, you're easy to talk to, man. You have a light, bro. You have a light that shines, man. I mean, I could do the same, man. I could sit here and talk about it all day, and I love to talk. And I had somebody I played in a golf tournament 2 weeks ago. Played with this guy, and he's like, I work at this course right down the road from your house called Red Bridge. We had a fun time together. I played like crap. We had a fun time together, and I saw him the other day. We went out to play a practice round at this course. The next day, I was invited to a tournament last minute, and I saw him. And then the next day, I'm back at the golf course, and he walked up to me on the driving range, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, dude? Look at this." And he shows me his phone, and he's listening to it says Fredly IV, and I'm like, I don't have anything out as Fredly. And I was like, oh, it's a podcast. He's like, dude, I love the way you talk, man. I can hear the passion in your voice, and I was just like, thank you, Mo, because that's a great compliment, but it was a great compliment from him. And again, I'm just authentically trying to be myself. So that's what I'm doing. And I encourage everyone to be that because, like I said earlier, only you can be you. You know, when we're trying to be others or like others or like, trying to be unauthentic, it gets scary, it gets dark, it feels, what do they call it, cringy. you know, it feels that way. And so even though I appreciate the comment and everything and his comment, it's something I guess, you're working on every day still, right? I mean, just because I'm
Absolutely.
speaking so confidently today, it's because of this, it's because it was supposed to be. But like, every day you're wading through those waters of like just trying to authentically be yourself. And in a world, I tell people this all the time, I've struggled over the last 10 or 15 years with the way social media has taken a darker turn on so many different controversial topics. And part of something I don't think people understand is like, in a way, we're trying to all be poured into the same cereal box, but we don't all eat Raisin Bran, right? Like,
Hmm.
we're not all eating the same cereal. We are unique in the aspect that we have all been through the good and the bad, but the uniqueness of our experience is so different. The uniqueness of this thing right here, that little thumbprint, everybody's is different, dude. We don't all fit in the same cereal box, and that is okay, right?
Yes.
That's where we have to come to, But I mean, you live in the same world I live in. It's very tough, man. It's very swayed one direction on like, let's feed you something that's going to get you fired up instead of feed you something that fuels the heart to fire up, like that light. Everybody let your light shine, like, come on, it's in there.
Exactly. And there's room for everyone's to shine. I say that all the time too. There's no such thing as like, oh, well, if everyone's light starts to shine, then there won't be any room at all. I totally disagree with that. So I love the message, Fred. And I think that, like I said earlier today, you just have so much to give. And I appreciate that. And if I didn't have another call, dude, I would definitely stay on a little
Dude,
bit longer. But I do
yes.
have to get going. I'm so glad we finally got to connect. We will 100% be connecting again in the future. Mark my words, I definitely want an in-person conversation with you. I think it would be magical, and we'll definitely make it happen. I can already see it. It's
Please.
almost like a little vision I'm having right now, but I'm going to manifest it for sure. But lastly, Fred, please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can stream your music, all the good details, whatever details you want to give.
Yeah, the music is out there. Late Night Special rocks is our website. That will take you to everything. Of course, the band is Late Night Special, and you can find all that stuff there. And as that all comes about, I'm going to be releasing some solo projects and some different projects, as well as the band will be releasing music. So please check that out. We're based in Charlotte. We're about to come on tour. Actually, the first stop is Texas. It's in Dallas. It's a part of this Lantern Festival tour, but we're the headlining artists for the Nightlight Sky Lantern Festival. Would love to get you out to one of those and like get to meet, and obviously we'll take care of you and make sure they take care of you too. So
I cannot wait. I totally look forward to it. And it's going to happen, dude. Mark my words, it will happen. I definitely will tell you this also. Usually, whenever people reschedule, it's really hard to get back on track. But with you, dude, I have known from the moment we connected, I'm like, he could reschedule on me 10 times and I'm still going to say yes because there's something there. And hearing you talk about your dad, your faith, and everything is truly like validation to my intuition because I knew there was a reason why waiting was going to be worth it. So thank you so much for your time, dude. It's the most valuable thing we have, and we'll definitely be in touch. I already know it.
dude, thank you so much, Mo. Look forward to it, and have a wonderful day, man.
Thanks, man. You too. We'll talk soon.
See you, brother.
Bye. Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.